Thank you. Let's pray. Lord Jesus, as we pray to you this evening, we thank you for the day you've given us, a beautiful day, and a day in which you were with us every step of the way. So we pause before this meeting tonight to say how grateful we are that you know us, that you love us, that you hear all that we say and even what we don't. Lord, the men and women here in this room are here tonight to talk about the issues that concern the people of this community. So I ask that on this evening and every time, their deliberations, they would be wise. Help them to think rightly, fairly, comprehensively. Help them to see the issues clearly, make good decisions. I know they want the best for our community, so we thank you for them. We ask that you bless the community of Fergus Falls. Thank you for the privilege to live here. Help us to live in peace with each other and to conduct our lives in a way that adds to the well-being of our community. I thank you for these leaders. Thank you for the officials in this room. Bless them, bless their families. Help them to know your favor in their public service and in their private lives. Jesus, thank you. May your will be done in our community. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's 5:30 on March 4th, 2024, and we'll call this meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Fish is absent. Joe.
Here.
Tommy.
Here.
Walker is absent. Freemeyer.
Here.
Thompson is absent. Rachel's.
Here.
And Hicks.
Yeah.
So we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. First item of business this evening is approval of the agenda, and I'll call on our city administrator, Andrew Bremseth, for any changes to that agenda. Good evening, Andrew.
Yeah, good evening, Your Honor, council members. No changes other than Councilmember Krameyer has requested under new business that we have a conversation about the open forum policy and have a discussion on that with potential action at a future date.
So that would need unanimous consent to change that agenda.
I'll make that motion to accept the agenda with the change, well, with the addition of the open forum discussion.
Someone like to second that?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Laura. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under public hearings this evening, we have one public hearing to consider a housing tax rebate for property located at 1409 Lenore Way, and we will call on our Community Development Manager, Clara Beck, to introduce this item. Good evening, Clara.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This is another one that you might notice has a date of 2021 on the actual application. It came through around the same time as some other Habitat for Humanity homes that went directly to the county first before coming to the city. So we missed those. But we're catching up now with the county rosters and do feel that these Habitat for Humanity homes are a good fit for our tax rebate program. And so we are therefore putting it forward this evening for consideration for a rebate of $5,000 over 5 years, whichever one comes first for a home on Lenore Way.
Thank you, Clara. And with that, we will open the public hearing for the property tax rebate located at 1409 Lenore Way. Anyone wishing to speak to this issue, please step to the lectern. Identify yourself. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing, and it's back to the council. We would be looking for a resolution to approve that property tax rebate for the property at 1409 Lenore Way. I'd like to offer that. Thank you,
I'll second.
Scott. Thank you, Scott. Roll call, please.
Joe.
Yes.
Tommy.
Yes.
Freemeyer.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. There are no bids to award this evening. I'm going to take the liberty under petitions, communications, and open forum. I'm going to move the item of new business that is a resolution of support for staffing of the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. And without any objection, if there isn't any, we'll go ahead and move that up because I know there's some people in the meeting that have to get to another meeting. So at this time, I would like to welcome Molly Stoddard and Rudd Wasson to the podium to introduce this item of
Molly,
support.
you drop your papers. You drop your papers.
And for the public, the item that we are considering is a resolution of support in support of the staffing for the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. With that, thank you, Molly and Rudd, for being here, and the floor is yours.
I'm Rudd Wasson, and I want to thank the mayor and the council for this opportunity for Molly and I to speak about the serious staffing shortage at the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. I've been associated with the Friends of the Prairie Wetlands for over 25 years, and I served as president for 6 years. In my opinion, the problem is there is not very much community realization that a problem even exists. It is generally known that we have a very successful prairie science class at the Prairie Wetlands with up to 200 students, 4th and 5th grade students, attending every day of the school year. But the prairie science class is entirely staffed and funded by our school district 544. The Prairie Wetlands Learning Center is funded and staffed by the Fish and Wildlife Service, a federal agency within the Department of the Interior. 5 years ago, about 5 past presidents of the Friends of the Prairie Wetland Learning Center met with Charlie Blair, who's chief of Region 3 Refuge. He's the highest level of administration in the region. And I believe it's about 7 states, 8 states. Yeah, it's a big area. To lobby the Fish and Wildlife Service to fill the director's position, which had been vacant for over 3 years at that time. As a result, Joanne Ryan, the present director, was hired. Since then, the staffing problem has worsened. The 3 education specialists at that time have all retired, and their positions have not been filled. Now there are 2 staff at the Prairie Wetland Learning Center, the director and a maintenance person. And the director is scheduled to retire at the end of March 2024. To adequately staff the center, there should be a director, an administrative assistant, a maintenance person, and at least 2 education specialists. As a result of inadequate staffing, the center has been open 1 day a week has only been open for 1 day a week for the past 2 years. And right now it's closed for renovations. I'm going to ask Molly to give the big ask.
Thanks, Rudd.
Thank you, Rod. Good evening, everybody. I'm Molly Stoddard, and I'm here as a private citizen, not representing any entity. I worked for the Fish and Wildlife Service for 30 years, the last 18 of which were at the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center as an instructor, and I live in Fergus Falls. Rod and I put together a fact sheet, and I just want to double check that you have that in your packets this evening. You do? Okay, that's awesome. So if you would like to have more details after this, there's more information there for you. And on that sheet, I would like to highlight that the Fish and Wildlife Service is obliged to provide staff for the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center through a formal written partnership agreement with the city of Fergus Falls. And as such, as you could hear from Rudd's description, the service, as much as I love the service and I loved working for it, it's really not upholding its part of the deal on that agreement. And so we would like to suggest that the City Council considers preparing a resolution that could be shared with the regional director, the current regional director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Will Meeks, and we'll provide you with his contact information. So that's not on your sheet. And perhaps congressionals to indicate the city's support of the service fully funding and staffing the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center so it can return to full operation to the benefit of not only the city of Fergus Falls residents, but West Central Minnesota. And we thank you for your time and interest, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks,
If
Molly.
there's time.
Thanks, Molly. If anyone has any questions, I don't think I'm alone in saying that the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center is a valuable asset to the community, to our educational system, to the city as a whole. So I would certainly think it's appropriate for us to offer a resolution, send it to Senator Klobuchar, Senator Smith, Representative Fishbach, just stating the importance of the facility to our community and urge them to staff it, fund it, and staff it appropriately. So, someone like to offer a resolution?
I'd make that. I'll second it.
Yes?
Yep.
Yeah. Scott, Anthony, thank you. Any questions for Molly or Brad?
I think obviously you say best ways to help: write letters, make phone calls, tell your friends, etc. If obviously there's a lot of parents of children that have gone through prairie wetlands in town. I mean, if through the newspaper and through, can we get all of them to write a letter? It's. I know it's not. Maybe if we can point people to the sort of like the Prairie Wetlands, Friends of the Prairie Wetland website, and there's a mock letter or something that all they have to do is literally download it, and put their name on it. I mean, as you say, if we could mobilize, every parent or even 50% of the parents that have had a child go through that experience and truly enjoyed it, because I know my granddaughter's done it, and those were the best 2 years of her life at school. I think that would be great, just to get the volume going, as you say, to these three politicians. And is there a USDA office as well that we could also write to, that we could get an address for?
Yeah, the U.S. Department of Interior. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can look that up.
Because obviously we've just got the three politicians on here, and as we know, politicians.
Give these to,
Yeah.
we're going to give these to Lynn.
Right.
You can make copies.
Okay.
Right.
That's the regional director.
Right.
Who we refer to in the Twin Cities. But yeah, we are in cahoots with the Friends of the Prairie Wetlands, and we're hoping they're going to start providing some information as well. And we can pass along your suggestion of a sort of a mock letter.
Yeah.
The most impact comes from personalized letters, personal stories.
Yep.
So people could always, add their own 2 cents worth. Yeah.
Yeah, people could take a photograph of the birdhouse that their kid made out there and send that along.
She's a good wordsmith, so we'll have her
Right.
make
Right.
a letter. No, I think in the packet there's my personal letter to
Yep.
Will. My personal letter to Will Meeks, who is the chief of the refuge. And I think that personal letters are really the thing that might do this, other than the city council passing a resolution or talking to other organizations. Molly and I, Fergus Falls Fish and Game Club has a lot of representatives, and we hope that we'll move on from there and get lots of input. So.
Yeah. And I would just say, too, to Anthony's point, letters, of course, are great, resolutions. Calling those offices in D.C. is not hard to do. It doesn't take a long time. It doesn't, can seem intimidating, but a simple phone call, just saying, hey, I support the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center, Fergus Falls. That does get through to people, and just the sheer, it's an easy, low barrier entrance as people can do to help support the cause. And those numbers do add up in those offices. They take into consideration when people take the time to call. So.
And maybe if you could do like, my daughter/son, and then da-da-da-da-da, so they could put in, the name of the child and the year, as you say, even if it was just like bullet points to help people write the letter, and they fill in the blanks.
I think it's important for the public to know that we're not asking for money. We're asking for support. This is Fish and Wildlife Service's business. And I know that budgets are terrible, but we have a gem here to protect.
Absolutely.
So,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Rudd. Thank you, Molly. We have a resolution in a second. Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Lonnie,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. Thank you. Under petitions, communications, open forum, at this point, we will open the floor to the open forum. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to any item that is not on the agenda, please feel free to do so at this time.
Good evening. My name is Al Krameyer. I'm a Third Ward resident. Lynn, let the record show that I am temporarily stepping down from my Third Ward council seat to address the open forum as a citizen. I will return to my council seat after my comments. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I feel, as do several others, that the mayor and some council members have expressed in not only words, but actions, the essence of intolerance. As we all know, we live in a country that gives us, the people, the constitutional right to free speech. We have the choice to agree or to disagree with each other. And if one disagrees, it should be with human decency and respect, that each party have a civil discussion or debate to come to an understanding. It is when communication stops, is when bad things happen. I've been engaged in city politics for the past few years. Shame on me for not engaging sooner. I am more involved in city politics. It is more evident how important our actions are. We are affecting people's lives. And believe me, I know how short a life can be and how it should be respected. It is most disturbing to me when people are not given respect while having the floor. I will give a few examples. The first example is the summer of 2023. I can look up the date, but was the summer of 2023. Second Ward Council member Tom Roofer rudely interrupted combat Marine veteran Mike Mortensen as he speaks. Here is a fellow who fought for our country, and he was interrupted during a meeting as he spoke. The comment was stating that Mr. Mortensen's comments are political theater. There was no action taken and no reprimand for Mr. Roofer. On February 2024, during an open forum with Mr. Bob Noah, voices a heartfelt comments. Mayor Shire reacts aggressively and disrespectful, I feel, to Mr. Noah. There again, no action taken and no reprimand for Mayor Shire. Last meeting, February 19th, 2024. Fourth Ward member Scott Rachels interrupts and stops Mr. Mark Layton. That was a comment. I know there's a policy. It can only be brought up twice, which I feel is censorship, because nothing is getting decided and nothing gets to be discussed down the road. So Mr. Layton was speaking, I think more so addressing Bill, as Bill's comments to him the meeting prior to, so their figures were correct. And he was stopped dead in his tracks. There again, no action taken and no reprimand for Councilmember Rachels. This disrespect is not only confined to City Hall, but extends to the print media. The Fergus Falls Journal printed a letter to the editor titled Unhappy Citizen, dated October 25th, 2023, by Susie Hames, a resident of Fergus Falls whose husband is a retired longtime employee of the city of Fergus Falls. Her comments were attacked by Mayor Ben Shire on October 28th, 2023, with his letter to the editor titled From the Mayor. The quote in that letter, and I have both letters, but the letter to the editor from Mrs. Hames on October 25th was neither healthy nor welcome. It was disgusting and dangerous. Those who know Susie, I don't think she was trying to be disgusting and dangerous. There again, no action or reprimand for Mayor Shire. I am saddened and repulsed by your comment to Mrs. Hames as a sitting mayor. I would have probably had more leeway if it was from a private citizen as I'm speaking with you here today.
My letter to the editor was from a private
You're not
citizen,
supposed to
so-
engage me, Mayor. That's what was stated at the last meeting. Mr. Mayor, let me read the definition of freedom and freedom of speech. I think you probably know it, but people need to hear this. Freedom is the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. The definition for freedom of speech is the right to express any opinions without censorship or restraint. It was my promise to the people of Fergus Falls to have more access for speech and debate. Town hall meetings were organized. After the first two well-attended meetings, it was someone's idea. I don't know if it was somebody's in City Hall or what, but it was decided they didn't want to have the town hall meetings here in the council chambers anymore. I requested a vote from the city council regarding this motion, not to allow town hall meetings at City Hall. I wanted this on record. The vote was 7-1, I being the only no vote. Citizens, please remember, in 8 short months, there will be another election, an opportunity to voice your values. Now is the time to speak.
There is no political statements regarding elections allowed at the public open forum, so we're going to stop you on that one right now.
Okay, we'll
So if
stop
you want to
on-
move on, and the other thing, you've gone over your 3 minutes.
I have a
Second of all, this item is on the agenda later in the meeting because you put it on the agenda.
This is a
So-
different item.
We're gonna
And Mayor,
wrap
you
this
can't-
up. We
Mayor-
are going to wrap this
Mayor,
up.
I believe you're out of order. Let me conclude. In closing, I am committed to the people of Fergus Falls. I repeat, I am committed to the people of Fergus Falls to stay the course. Thank you. From Citizen Al Kremeyer, I will now return to my council seat, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Anyone else wishing to speak to the open forum on any item that's not on the agenda? And just a reminder that we do have a set of rules. We will be discussing bringing these set of rules to a further council meeting, I believe, is what was asked to be put on the agenda earlier. In the meantime, we are going to follow these rules until that ordinance is changed. So, Mr. Noah, please go ahead. Please.
Bob Noah, Fergus Falls. I'm getting more comfortable coming up here to talk to you people. I've never had anything against any one of you, but I do disagree with the way you run the show. Thanks for what you said, Al. That was very good. You know, this is made up of people. What do you expect out of the public? What's our role in government other than to come up and complain about how you're handling what you're doing? You know, you make up these rules of time limits and all these other things, restrictions, and you're very good at following scripts. People aren't scripts. You're very good at what you do. I said that from the very beginning. You're a bunch of smart people. But you've excluded the public. And I've, time and time again, I've come to you encouraging you to have open forums. And you refuse. So I decided to offer a challenge to everyone here, especially you, Mayor, that we have an open forum debate between you and I in public. It can be at Speeds Park, it can be at the Center for the Arts, just me and you. And we can ask any question we want. We can take questions from, I'll bet you thousands of people would show up. Yeah, because they'd be interested in knowing, what does the public think? This is your adversarial selection. I've always called for collaboration. Thanks.
Thank you. Just a reminder, this is a public forum. Anyone wishing to speak to the council, this is an open forum, so please, just as Mr. Noah did, we do have an open forum, and I'm glad you're utilizing it.
Mr. Layton, Fergus Falls, Minnesota. Rachel's, I won't talk about the budget tonight. I applaud Kramer. I find the rules not followed across the board. I was interrupted last time talking about the budget in reply to Bill, attempting to get the right comments and the right information, and then tag that on to what's happening with the franchise tax. I was interrupted. If that's the policy, that's the policy. But other open forum meetings, other speakers have spoke. TIF, Shopko Building, Regional Treatment Center, parks, many times, more than twice, and they're allowed to speak. The problem I have, as Mr. Rachels has alluded, does not like me. Andrew Brumseth has heard that. But at the same time, we have a code of ethics. He may not like me, I may not like him. But that doesn't mean that has to carry into this council room. I'm a citizen. You work for me and the other citizens that I represent. So when one person is taken out at number 2, and other ones approach this council and speak of many things 3 or 4 times, we're not following the rules. Very subjective. And I will talk another 5 minutes. I'm just kidding. Thank you.
Just make clear, the rules pertaining to speaking, just so everyone's clear, the rule addressing the number of times a person can speak, as is in the ordinance, it just relates to the open forum policy. So if the subject comes up, for example, the budget or TIF financing or the library or the regional treatment center, people can speak as many times as they want. The council adopted a policy, which they can change that policy, but currently the policy exists that a person is allowed 2 times in a 12-month period to address the council at an open forum period, at an open forum session. So that's the rule, and that's the difference between people addressing the council at an open forum and people addressing a different agenda item that happens to be on a regularly scheduled agenda, just for clarification.
Thank you for the clarification. I will go back and listen to the council meetings and find out what has really happened in these open forum sections. But again, I think it's poorly managed and it doesn't reflect the citizens. And as Al Kramer indicated, I can come up, anybody can come up, and it's not responded to. There is no old business on this council. There's no old business on the agenda. There are no reports from the department heads. There are no phone logs. So when people call in, this administration doesn't know what's hot and what's not hot in regards to the citizens. There's no minutes in the meetings from either a budget or other meetings that the public has access to. If I ran a business that way, it wouldn't work. Obviously, it's not working here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Layton. Anyone else wishing to address the council?
Hello, everybody. My name is Debbie Smith. Live here in Fergus Falls. I had no idea what was going to happen here. I just decided I had some time and I was going to stop in at the city council meeting. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised. If anybody's been paying attention to the news, Facebook, across Otter Tail County, there seems to be a real bubbling up of frustration and anger from citizens regarding a variety of leadership positions. And maybe we all need to pay attention. Something's going on, and we need to figure out how somehow to reach out and find out what can be done differently. People are angry. And are some leaders being targeted unfairly? I don't know. I haven't been to every city council meeting. I can't possibly go to all commissioners' meetings, all school board meetings, but pay attention. people across Otter Tail County are angry. They're frustrated. And leadership needs to pay attention to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Anyone else wishing to speak to the council this evening under the open forum section? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Under the consent agenda, there's 7 items this evening. Anyone wishing to speak to any of those items individually, we can remove them, or we can adopt them all with a single resolution.
I'll
Someone
offer
like to
that.
offer that? Thank you, Scott.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Scott. Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. Under ordinance and resolutions, we have 5 items for consideration this evening. The first would be a second reading of ordinance 53 8th series relating to tree management. This has been to committee. It's been introduced. Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That ordinance is approved. Item number 2 is a second reading of ordinance number 54, 8th series, amending City Code 154.002, which is regarding the definition of hotels. Again, this has been before committee. It's been before the council and introduced. Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That ordinance is approved. Item number 3 is a first reading of ordinance 55, 8th series, relating to the rezoning of the 2008 County Highway 111 from R1 to R8, as requested by Alex and Megan Blondeau. We need someone to introduce that this evening. Claire, did you have any comments on that? If there's questions, we can...
I have a question. I'll introduce it. and I've
Okay,
got a
let's
question.
been introducing them. Go ahead, Anthony.
Obviously, in the application, it says that this was at one point proposed as like a stormwater. I mean, if we change this, obviously, from obviously R1 to RA, then we need it as stormwater. Then what happens?
They won't need it unless there's a new subdivision.
Right.
that's Put forward, and then in that process, they would have to come up with a new stormwater plan.
Right. Okay. I just would hate them to kind of
Right.
build a greenhouse and then down the road we decide that we want to pour water through their garden. So, okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Claire? Okay, that ordinance has been introduced. Item number 4 is a first reading of ordinance 56, 8th series, rezoning 801 West Stanton Avenue from I2 to R4, as requested by the city of Fergus Falls on behalf of Mark and Brenda Christofferson. Someone like to introduce that this evening?
I can do that as well.
Thanks, Anthony. Any questions relating to that? We could direct them to Clara. Seeing none, we will move along.
Just real quickly, in reference to that, I just want to make note that this action is requested by the city on behalf of the Christoffersons, but it would be contingent on the transaction of the parcel happening to the city. So if the city's transaction does not move forward, it would remain I2. If the transaction with the city moves forward, the rezone would take effect as R4, which would then facilitate the housing project. So it will be contingent on the sale of the property.
Okay. Everyone clear on that? Everyone good? All right. Item number 5, it'd be a resolution approving the 2024 utility rate adjustments, and we went over those in depth last Wednesday. If anyone has any questions for Bill, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer those. Someone like to offer a resolution approving those changes that
I'll
were
offer it, Your
discussed
Honor.
on Wednesday? Scott, thank you.
I can second them.
Thank you, Anthony. Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. Under presentation of claims, tonight we have claims in the amount of $590,777.14. If there's any questions, we'll direct them to our city finance director. I'm just wondering who's going to make that resolution to pay the bills this week.
I don't think so. It's like, it's not going to happen.
They don't
Looking
get paid
your
this
way over
month.
there.
No.
It gets moved down to the right.
Yeah.
I will make that.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Councilmember Job, Councilmember Kwame. You have a question?
I just was noting that we bought a couple of police cars. And as I understand, they're replacing a couple that were due to go out of service. And it's just swapping them out essentially, out with the old, in with the new, and it was budgeted for, nothing terribly unusual. But nice to see that they happened to come through on the state contract on a local dealer and they didn't come from someplace far away.
Thanks, Scott. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. There are no board, committee, department reports or reports from staff or administrative officers. There is no older unfinished business. Under new business, we have one item of consideration, and that would be a motion asking staff to bring back the open forum policy for consideration at a future council meeting.
Thank you.
Would like to
Looking,
get that motion on
Oh,
the
sorry.
floor so we have consideration of that?
I'd make a motion.
I'll second it.
Thanks. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. As looking at the policy, one of the issues that came up with was the, no more than 2 times in a 12-month period. I think the open policy should be amended to allow that more than 2 times. I feel the way it's written is in a way censorship. I feel that the open forum frustration with it, lack of a better term, centers around lack of response by the city and those who the questions are asked to. The open forum questioning and concerns need to be addressed at probably the following council meeting, might be a suggestion, for true transparency and to the respect of the speaker. So there can be some type of an agreement or clarification or end to the issue. Because the way it is now, if it's not discussed or settled after 2 times, lack of a better term, it's a dead horse, unless somebody else brings it up. So I would like to see a response to that. It's fine and dandy for everybody to get up and say things, but where's the end game to this? I think we need to have an end game. And at least the people who are, the citizens who are coming forward to ask these questions or concerns, then they have an answer. That's what I'm looking for, and I think that's what they're looking for. And then we're going to have a lot better communication. I honestly believe that.
So-
That's my thoughts.
Thanks, Councilmember Kramer. So the motion is to bring this back for consideration, and at that time, because this is a ordinance, right? It's a resolution, so when it's brought back, we would go through the regular resolution process. Is it ordinance or resolution then? I'm sorry.
It's a resolution.
Yeah.
It's a resolution, got it.
2023.
So it's just a simple resolution that would be considered. So I think in fairness to everyone on the council and to the public, at the next meeting, we'll have it on the agenda. We'll discuss it, and if there's a resolution to change it, then we take it up at that matter. So that's the motion. Other comments?
I think I agree with what Al's saying in the sense that like somebody gets up and speaks and then it's basically silence. And I know we don't necessarily, it's sort of the way it is now, we don't address it that night. And sometimes I think we could, and it would be done, while that person is physically in the room. So maybe, it could come under that, new business on the agenda. But I do agree. I think that it just fades, and then that person basically gets tired of coming, and then we don't ever respond. And I think somehow we do have to formally respond. But I think also when we have to be cognizant that we don't ultimately consume a lot of staff time chasing things either. So I think we have to there's a balance and a compromise to be made of how we respond. And if we could answer it that evening, that would be the fastest and the most efficient way to do it. If obviously there's some research involved, then obviously we have to bring it back at a later council meeting. But I think, if it's a statement they make, and I think that's going to be the thing, is defining whether it's a statement that's being made or whether it's a question that's being asked. And maybe we just have to find out, and have, as you say, one more bullet point that says, because you can ask the same question 20 different ways. So I think we have to sort of mutually try to come to a compromise on when is a question exhausted or a subject matter exhausted.
Yeah, and I think that, well, I look forward to the conversation because we've had this conversation going back to 2017, right? And I've always been an advocate of the open forum, but I think you're right. There has to be a balance between what is expected of staff and of the council, at that meeting. And at some point, I think our city attorney would tell us, this is our meeting. We want to invite the public to be a part of that meeting, but there has to be a balance. And so one way to do it is if the council makes a motion to direct staff to bring a response back, and a majority of the council agrees with that, then that's the direction of the council. I don't know that any member of the public or one council member needs to direct that. I think, so we have to think through that, because it has to be a democratic process that that we allow public input, but at the same time, we keep control of the meeting, that this is, we're the elected officials here to make the decisions for the community. So anyway, I look forward to the conversation. We'll bring that at the next meeting. I don't see any reason why we'll bring it to the next meeting, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so there's a motion to bring that for consideration, not any suggestions, but just the open forum policy in general to the next meeting. Yeah, Scott?
Just as a bit of history, what I remember when I first got on, the forum policy was that you had to fill out a form and submit it a day or two or three in advance, so that when you came to make your question or statement, the staff had had a chance to either look up the answer or, get some support for, whatever the question would be. And for whatever reason, it was deemed that that was too much of an issue and people didn't care for that, so we went away from that. All that to say, I don't think we can make everybody happy. If there's a process by which people could let us know ahead of time so that we can be prepared to answer the question, I think that's very helpful. And it would answer your question, Anthony, as far as being able to give an answer on the spot that everybody can hear, and that's efficient, and that's fine. But that didn't satisfy everybody either. So as you said, I look forward to hearing some more ideas on how we might approach this, and if there's a way to improve it, great.
All right, so there's a motion to direct staff to bring this item for consideration to the next city council meeting. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Lynn, any announcements this evening?
We have an election tomorrow.
We have an election tomorrow. Yes.
Please get out and vote. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And if you have questions of where you go to vote, it's on our webpage, or give me a call. I might not be at my desk now, but check our webpage.
Thanks, Lynn, and to all of the election workers that work so hard to make sure that that goes off without a hitch. With that, we're adjourned.